Welcome into Ravens Rundown. I am Tom Downey. Before we break down some Lamar Jackson contract updates, Marcus Peters, and some Senior Bowl prospects to keep an eye out for, make sure you guys are subscribed. This is your number one stop all offseason long for daily Ravens videos on the draft, free agency trades, and everything else in between. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. You're watching Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I am Tom Downey, breaking down the latest on the Baltimore Ravens. And we begin with maybe the number one storyline for Baltimore this offseason. That is on Lamar Jackson and his potential contract extension. Lamar is entering the final year of his deal. And unlike most players, and certainly most QBs, really all the QBs, he's acting as his own agent. Lamar Jackson is up for a massive contract extension. He is now in that fifth-year option deal. So far, pretty quiet on the Lamar front. Here's what GM Eric Decosta had to say when asked about Lamar Jackson. Quote, "So for me to talk about it in specifics would be prohibitive. What I can say is that Lamar and I have had, probably 5 or 6 conversations at different points over the last year in regard to his contract. We picked up his option, as you know. I think at this point, I would say that we're working at Lamar's pace. He's comfortable where we are right now. I think he feels that we've had a lot of unfinished business. He has a lot of unfinished business. He wants to win the division. He wants to win the Super Bowl. I think he and I both share that same vision. So that's basically where we stand. Lamar Jackson, wherever you want to rank him, top 5, top 7, top 10, top 11, whatever, he has proven to be a franchise QB in the same way that a lot of these guys on this list have. Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, maybe not Patrick Mahomes, kind of his own territory there. Each year that you wait for a deal, the more expensive it becomes in both the per-year figure and the guaranteed money. And I think, by the way, for Mahomes guaranteed, ignore it. It gets weird when it's a 10-year deal and it's got rolling guarantees. It's almost a fully guaranteed deal to a certain extent with the way it's structured at this point. But I think Lamar's contract cost is going to be somewhere in that Deshaun Watson, if on the lower end, Josh Allen on the high end type of money. That is if Lamar maximizes his own value. That gets kind of thrown for a loop when you don't have an agent. And I wonder if the Ravens would rather Lamar have an agent. Yes, it could hypothetically save them money, but the whole line about working at Lamar's pace, I don't know if that's a good thing for Baltimore in the end. Here's my proposed Lamar deal. It is a shot in the dark. No agent complicates things. I'll go a little bit longer than the Dak Prescott, Josh Allen deal. 5 years on that front. The average then, $41 million in terms of the per year figure. So less than Josh Allen, more than Dak Prescott. The guaranteed money, similar-ish percentages, more than Dak, less than Allen, $130 million. If you believe Lamar is your franchise guy, I would do that now rather than let guys like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, etc., Kyler Murray in the near future get deals that will certainly, I think, exceed that. So what do you think? Would you do this Lamar deal? Y for yes, N for no. Remember, the longer you go overall, the higher the average ends up being. Type Y for yes, N for no in the comments section. Let's talk Marcus Peters now. His contract, also a bit of a potential problem for Baltimore. He missed the 2021 campaign due to an unfortunately timed ACL, part of all of the injuries the Ravens suffered this past year. He is now in the last year of his current contract. The Ravens could save a whopping $10 million if they cut Peters. Now, they could also restructure, extend him, bring the cap hit down, but it makes things a little bit dicey long term if you don't trust Peters to stay healthy. Here's what Decosta had to say. Quote, I love Marcus. I've talked to Marcus quite a bit. Marcus is one of the guys that when it comes to your organization, he provides such an authentic perspective on what this game is all about, and he's a Raven. Doesn't really answer the question about Marcus Peters' future, by the way. They've got a lot of key free agents. Anthony Averett among that in that category. Jimmy Smith, we'll see what happens on that front. He could retire. Chris Westry is an RFA. Maybe you draft somebody else. You had to trade away Sean Wade because your numbers weren't right, and then everyone ended up getting hurt. Peters is a high-impact corner. Does a great job of taking the ball away for us in terms, which is very valuable in the end. He did 4 of course INTs in 2020 because he didn't play at all in 2021. Duh, right? So I'm excited to see, or at least curious to see what the Ravens end up doing with Peters. Do you extend him? Because if you really don't want him at a $10 million cap hit. So with that in mind, I am curious. What would you guys do with Marcus Peters? Type in C for you'd cut him and move on, just get rid of him. Or type in K for you'd keep him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments right now. If you haven't already, please subscribe. The more subscribers we get here at Ravens Rundown, the more videos we do for you. The Steelers channel, the Browns channel, they're doing better right now. There is no Bengals one, but do you really want to be third in the AFC North? I don't think so. Hit that big red button and subscribe. The Senior Bowl itself, the game, was on Saturday after a week-ish of practice, so I wanted to spend time with 5 potential prospects the Ravens could explore coming out of the game. First up is producer Jeremy's boy, Daniel Falele. I will be upfront and honest, I didn't think he had a great week. Big guy, powerful, got pushed around a little bit more than what you would like for a guy that is really 6'8", 380. He checked in at 6'8 and a quarter, 387 pounds. Several times he was on the ground. You can't do that if you're that big. Of course, leverage a play there. But if you want a right tackle, this could be a great guy to have for a run-focused offense. 2 defensive linemen. First up here is Travis Jones, who wowed at UConn, or wowed this week out of UConn. Big guy, and showed some burst. If you're looking for a Brandon Williams potential replacement as a run stopper, Jones fits that mold very, very well. 7.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks this year on a pretty bad UConn team. He was impressive, one of the biggest winners this week at the Senior Bowl. 3 more names coming up, including 1 more D lineman. But first, today's show is powered by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code you guys see right there, chat125. $100 in, boom, extra 125 for free to go with. I would assume that you guys do not want to bet on the Bengals, so go bet on the Ravens instead. Or the Rams. Wow, the Rams. Now down to a 4-point favorite. Was opened at 4, went to 4.5, now is dipped back down to just 4. If you haven't already, folks, go put some money down. Make some money with BetUS. Promo code chat125 at chatsports.com/bet. Perion Winfrey, next up here out of Oklahoma, just absolute vines for arms, top 3 coming into the NFL draft in ever among combine history. More of a 3-technique pass rusher type, more disruptive than Jones is. He's a bit more of a run clogger there. In terms of where he could fit, I think Justin Madubuike plays a bit of a similar role. But I think he'd be your 5 technique. He could be your Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell, one of those 2 replacements if Campbell wants to call it a career. Now, you probably can't get both Jones and Winfrey, but if you take one of those guys, you can find room for them on your roster. All right, next up is Christian Watson, the wide receiver out of North Dakota State. If you want a bigger, bit lankier body, Watson could be that option for you. Had a pretty good week overall down at Mobile for the Senior Bowl. Really is 6'4". He's listed at 6'5", but programs lie about their weight. Welcome to life in college football. But we use the program weight because it's easier to use, but he's actually 6'4". Still, great frame, great size, great production this past year at the FCS level. Did not look out of place in the Senior Bowl. That's a big deal. Now, if you want to find a Deshaun Elliott replacement, maybe Jalen Petrie could end up being your guy out of Baylor. There were questions this week about, hey, can he hold up in coverage? He was almost a smaller version of Jaron Curse for the Cowboys this year, where he had 18.5 tackles for loss, despite being under 200 pounds, was almost an edge setter for Baylor in that kind of nickel overhang type of role, but he didn't play that much man coverage. He played man coverage at the Senior Bowl, and he held up great against running backs and tight ends, so that is a big deal for his stock. Helped answer that question since the Baylor defense didn't have him in man-to-man that much. A lot of zone coverage looks, a lot of just kind of sitting and letting guys get into him. You got to change that in the NFL. I like Petrie. Could be a good fit if you want another box safety. I want you now to drop your favorite sleeper prospect. The guys we mentioned, probably going to be day 2 picks. Maybe you got it. Maybe Watson could go just day 3. But if you got a sleeper guy, Let me know in the comments section.